Welcome to Understand the Math. In this video, we're going to learn about parabolas, what they look like, what their key components are, and how to write equations that describe them. We'll start with an example that shows how to find the vertex, focus, and directrix of a parabola, and then sketch its graph. We'll then look at examples where we're given specific information like the vertex and focus, the vertex and directrix, or the focus and directrix, and use that to write the equation of the parabola. Let's get started. We'll begin with some parabola essentials, what they look like, and the types of equations that describe them. A parabola, pictured here in green, is the set of all points that are the same distance, that's this distance here, from a point called the focus and a line called the directrix. If a parabola opens upward or downward and its vertex is at the origin, it can be described by this equation. And then if a parabola opens to the left or to the right and its vertex is also at the origin, it can be described by this equation. If a parabola opens up or down, you have an x squared, and if it opens to the left or the right, you have a y squared. These are the key equations that you'll need to know and may want to memorize. P, up here in our graph, is the distance between the focus and the vertex, and between the vertex and the directrix. The vertex lies halfway between the focus and the directrix. If a parabola opens upward or downward and its vertex is not at the origin, it can be described by this equation where the vertex is located at the point h, k. When the parabola opens upward, p is greater than 0, and then when the parabola opens downward, p is less than 0. In a similar way, if you have a parabola that opens to the right or to the left, it can be described by this equation, where the vertex is again h, k. When the parabola opens to the right, p is greater than 0, and then when the parabola opens to the left, it's less than 0. P is positive if the parabola opens up or to the right, and then it's negative if it opens down or to the left. One more thing about P, the larger P is, the wider the parabola is going to be. Let's now walk through some examples. In this example, we are going to find the vertex, focus, and directrix of the parabola, and then we're going to sketch its graph. In part A, we're given the equation x squared is equal to 8y. To make things easier, I've written down 5 steps that we can follow, and we'll go through these as we walk through our example. The first thing that we're going to do is find the vertex. Notice in this equation that there is no x minus a number or y minus a number, so that tells us that our vertex is located at the origin. So let's write down that our vertex is equal to 0, 0. Our second step is to find P. And to do that, we are going to compare the equation that we're given to the standard equation for a parabola, x squared is equal to 4py. We're going to take 4p and set it equal to 8, just comparing those two equations. This tells us then that p is equal to 2. Let's now look at our next step. That step is to sketch the direction of the parabola. Our equation has an x squared in it, and p is positive, so that means that our parabola opens upward. It has a vertex of 0, 0, and then the focus is here. The parabola always opens toward the focus, and then the directrix is going to be below the vertex. Our fourth step is to find the focus and the directrix. Now that we know where they're located, we can easily find them. Let's do the focus first. Our focus is above our vertex, and it lies p units above the vertex, and p is 2, so our focus is going to be located at 0, 2, just 2 units above the vertex. And then our directrix is a horizontal line, so it's going to be given by y is equal to a number, and it's going to be 2 units below the vertex, so it's going to be given by y is equal to -2. And now our last step is to just sketch the graph. Let's put down our vertex. We'll label it as 0, 0, and then we'll put our focus. That is 0, 2. I'm going to put that right here. And then our directrix is going to be located here, and it's given by the equation y is equal to -2. It's always nice to label things on your graph. Now let's graph the parabola. One thing that's going to help is to remember that the distance between the focus and the directrix is the same distance as between the focus and a point on the graph. So let's just put a point right here, and then we can do the same thing to the right and put a point here. We can then sketch our graph. It's going to look like this. We're going to come down here to the vertex and then go back up. And that's it. Let's go on to part B. Part B is more complicated because its vertex is not going to be at the origin. Let's go ahead and walk through our steps. Our first step is to find the vertex. To find the vertex, what you can do is you can take the x plus 1 and set it equal to 0, and then we get x is equal to -1. And then we'll do the same thing for y minus 2. We'll set that equal to 0, and we get y is equal to 2. That tells us that our vertex is located at -1, 2. Now let's look at our next step. We are going to find p. The equation that we're given has a y minus 2 quantity squared, so we are going to compare this equation to the standard equation y squared is equal to 4px. So we're going to set 4p equal to -12. This gives us that p is equal to -3. Now let's sketch the direction of the parabola. We have a y squared, so it's going to open to the right or to the left, and then p is negative, so that means it's going to open to the left. So let's go ahead and let's sketch that. We'll put our vertex here as -1, 2, and then our focus is going to be here, and our directrix is going to be back here. Now what we're going to do is find the focus and the directrix. Let's do the focus first. It's going to be to the left of the vertex, and p is -3, so that means that our focus is going to be -1, -3, comma 2, which is just -4, 2. Now let's look at the directrix. It is going to lie to the right of the vertex. So our directrix, which is given by x is equal to a number, is going to be x is equal to -1 plus 3 because we're going to the right. So this is going to be x is equal to 2. Now let's go ahead and sketch our graph. Let's start by putting down the vertex, -1, 2. I'm going to put that right here. Each of my lines is 2 units. And let's label this as -1, 2. Now we can put down the focus. That is -4, 2. So that's about right here. And then our directrix is x is equal to 2. And that's right here. Now let's sketch the graph. The distance from the focus to the directrix is the same as the distance from the focus to a point on the graph. So let's put a point here, and then we'll go down and do the same thing and put a point here. Now we can go ahead and sketch our graph. And that's it. Let's now look at some other different types of examples. In our second example, we are going to find an equation for the parabola that has a given vertex and a given focus. Our vertex is equal to 2, 4, and our focus is equal to 2, 6. I've again written down some steps that we can follow just to make it easier. The first thing that we want to do is to plot what we're given and then sketch the direction of the parabola using that information. This doesn't have to be a fancy sketch, we just have to think about the shape. Our vertex is located at the point 2, 4. I'm going to put that right here. And let's go ahead and label this 2, 4. And then our focus is 2, 6, which we'll put up here. And then we know that the parabola opens toward the focus, so it's going to be shaped like this. The second thing that we want to do is find P. P is this distance here, so it's going to be the y-coordinate of the focus minus the vertex. So let's write down P is equal to 6 minus 4, which is equal to 2. We already know that our parabola opens upward, so it makes sense that P is positive. Let's now look at our next step. For this step, we are going to write down the basic equation. I think it helps to not worry about the vertex at this point and just write down the general equation. Our parabola opens upward, so we're going to have an x squared, and the basic equation is going to be x squared is equal to 4p times y. Now what we can do is use that equation as a guide and write down the equation and put in our vertex and our p. We're going to change the x squared to x minus 2 quantity squared to account for the vertex. And then we have 4 times p, which is 2. And then we have y minus 4. This gives us the equation x minus 2 quantity squared is equal to 8 times y minus 4. And that's the equation of our parabola. Let's now do another example. In this example, we're again going to find the equation for the parabola, but now we're given a vertex and a directrix. Our vertex is minus 2, 4, and our directrix is x is equal to minus 5. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to plot what we're given and sketch the direction of the parabola. Let's start by plotting the vertex, minus 2, 4. I'm going to put that right here. And then the directrix is minus 5. So let's see, this is minus 2, minus 4. Let's extend our graph here. That's about minus 5. So let's put our directrix right here. Let's go back up here and let's label our vertex, minus 2, 4. And let's label the directrix, x is equal to minus 5. Let's now sketch the direction of the parabola. Our parabola is going to open away from the directrix, so it's going to be shaped like this. Let's now find P. P is going to be between the vertex and the directrix, so we can write down that P is equal to minus 2 minus a negative 5, which is equal to 3. If you don't want to calculate P that way, the other thing that you can do is to just notice that there are 3 units between the directrix and the vertex, and because it's pointing to the right, P is going to be positive. So you can just write down that P is equal to 3. Let's now look at step 3. For that step, we are going to write down our basic equation. We have a parabola that opens to the right. So our basic equation is going to be y squared is equal to 4px. Now let's do our last step. For that one, all we have to do now is plug in p and account for our vertex. So instead of y squared, we have a y minus 4 squared. I'm just subtracting the y component of the vertex, and that's equal to 4 times p, which is 3, and then we have x minus the x component of our vertex, which is minus 2. This gives us the equation y minus 4 quantity squared is equal to 12 times x plus 2. And that's the equation of our parabola. Hang with me, we have one more example to do, and it's the hardest one. In this example, we are going to find an equation for a parabola that has a given focus and a given directrix. We're told that the focus is equal to 2, 2, and the directrix is given by y is equal to 6. I've again written down some steps that we can follow. Our first step is to plot what we're given and then sketch the direction of the parabola. Here's our x-axis and here's our y-axis. Our focus is equal to 2, 2, so let's go ahead and let's put this right here. We'll label it 2, 2, and I'm going to put an F here to indicate that it's the focus. And then we're told that the directrix is y is equal to 6, so we'll draw the directrix up here. In order to sketch the parabola, we first need to put down where the vertex is located. The vertex is going to be halfway between the focus and the directrix, so it's going to be located right here. Let's put a V here for vertex, and it has the coordinates 2, 4. The parabola is going to point toward the focus and away from the directrix, so it's going to be shaped like this. Now let's find P. Since our parabola opens downward, we know that P is going to be negative, and we can write that P is equal to the y-coordinate of the focus, which is 2, minus the y-coordinate of the vertex, which is 4, and that becomes negative 2. Now let's go on to step 3. That step is to just write down the basic equation. We have an equation that opens downward, so the basic equation is going to be x squared is equal to 4py. And now we can write down the correct equation and put in the vertex and p. Instead of x squared, we're going to have x minus 2 quantity squared, just looking up there at the vertex. And that's equal to 4 times p, which is negative 2. And then we have y minus 4. And this gives us the equation x minus 2 quantity squared is equal to minus 8 times y minus 4. And that's it. You now know how to identify the vertex, focus, and directrix of a parabola and know how to write its equation.
If this video has been helpful to you, please consider subscribing to my channel. Keep believing in yourself and have a great rest of your day.